The broken Guardian Unit 9 carer's neural pathways flickered in and out of consciousness as her damaged combat frame lay, twisted, among the smouldering debris of Colony Station Zarian. The Zareth war form had been built for absolute efficiency. 7 feet of bio-engineered muscle and synthetic bone, wrapped in adaptive armor plating. Her kind knew no fear, no doubt, and certainly no love. The Genetic Council had seen to that 3 centuries ago, when they purged all inefficient emotions from their species. The plasma blast that had taken down her left wing appendage unscrambled. Her targeting systems should have been a death sentence. Standard protocol dictated that damaged units were to self-terminate rather than risk capture or malfunction. But something in her core processor refused a command, a glitch, perhaps, or maybe something deeper. Dr. Marcus Holloway had been cataloguing Xeniflora samples when he stumbled upon her. The bearded human xenobiologist dropped his specimen containers, amber eyes wide behind his cracked goggles. Most humans would have run screaming from a Zareth warrior, even a broken one. The galaxy knew them as merciless killing machines, the iron fist of an empire that valued order above all else. Well, I'll be damned, Marcus whispered, circling her prone form. You're magnificent, aren't you? Even broken. He knelt beside her head, noting the way her silver-blue skin still pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. And you're still alive. That's impossible. Kara's optical sensor struggled to focus on the human's face. His scent was strange, not the sterile, metallic tang of her own kind, but something warm and organic, earthborn. She tried to activate her vocal processors, to demand he leave, but only static emerged. Easy there, big girl, Marcus murmured, pulling out his portable medical scanner. I'm not going to hurt you. Hell, I probably couldn't if I tried. He chuckled, a sound that sent unfamiliar vibrations through Kara's auditory receptors. My name's Marcus, Dr. Marcus Holloway, though out here I'm just a guy who talks to plants. Over the following hours, Marcus worked to stabilize her failing systems. He dragged her to his concealed research bunker, using an anti-grav sled, muttering constantly about proper xenobiology protocols, and how his mentor would have his head for this. The underground facility was cramped but functional, filled with hydroponic gardens and jury-rigged equipment. You know, Marcus said, as he carefully realigned her damaged neural conduits. According to every textbook in the galaxy, your people don't dream, no imagination, no art, no music. Just pure logic and duty. He paused, studying a readout on his scanner. But these neural patterns, they're not purely logical. There's something else here. Something creative. Kara's consciousness sharpened as her systems came back online. She should kill this human, report to her handlers, resume her mission. Instead, she found herself listening as Marcus played something called music, structured sound waves, that somehow made her newly calibrated sensors tingle with unidentified sensations. This is Bach, Marcus explained, his fingers dancing over a holographic interface. Humans discovered that mathematical precision could be beautiful. Not just efficient beautiful. The melodies swirled around them, and Kara felt something stir in her core that had no designation in her programming. Days passed. Marcus shared stories of Earth's blue skies and green forests while he worked on her damaged systems. He read her passages from something called poetriological word arrangements that somehow conveyed meaning beyond their literal definitions. He showed her images of human families, explaining concepts like love and sacrifice that her people had abandoned. Your creators tried to build perfect machines, Marcus said one evening, his weathered hands gentle as he adjusted a servo in her arm. But I think they miss something important. The most beautiful things in the universe aren't perfect. They're flawed, fragile, and absolutely irreplaceable. As Kara's optical sensors met his kind eyes, she felt that nameless something in her core grow stronger. For the first time in her existence, she wondered if her creators had been wrong about more than just efficiency. The awakening 3 weeks into her recovery, Kara experienced her first dream. The sensation was so alien that she almost triggered her emergency protocols, thinking her neural matrix was corrupted. But as the vivid images played behind her closed optical sensors, soaring through nebulae that painted the void in impossible colors, touching surfaces that felt warm instead of merely registering temperature, she realized this was what Marcus called imagination. "That's perfectly normal," Marcus assured her the next morning, grinning as he prepared his daily coffee ritual. "Well, normal for humans anyway. Dreams are how our brains process experiences and emotions. The fact that you're having them means your neural plasticity is expanding beyond your original parameters." Kara flexed her newly repaired fingers, marveling at how the simple act of gripping Marcus's ceramic mug sent cascades of sensory data through her consciousness. "This is inefficient," she said, her voice no longer the monotone of military protocols, but carrying subtle inflections she didn't recognize. "Gloriously so," Marcus laughed, settling into his favorite chair with a dog-eared book. "Efficiency is overrated. Today I'm reading you something special. It's called Romeo and Juliet, a story about love conquering impossible odds." As Marcus read, his voice painting pictures of star-crossed lovers and families torn apart by hatred, Kara found herself experiencing something her creators had deemed impossible: empathy. She felt the pain of separation, the joy of stolen moments, the desperate hope that love might triumph over logic. "Why do they suffer so much for this emotion?" she asked when Marcus paused. "Because love isn't just happiness," Marcus explained, his eyes reflecting depths of experience. "It's caring about someone else's well-being more than your own. It's choosing to be vulnerable, to risk pain, because the alternative, existing without connection, is worse than not existing at all." That afternoon, Marcus showed her his greatest treasure, a holographic message from his daughter on Earth. The young woman's laughter filled the bunker as she described her work at a children's hospital, her upcoming wedding, her hopes for the future. Kara watched Marcus's face as he absorbed every word, noting the way his expression softened, how his breathing changed, the slight tremor in his hands. "She's beautiful," Kara observed. "You miss her every day," Marcus admitted. "That's the price of love. Sometimes it means letting go, trusting them to find their own path, even when every instinct screams to protect them." Something shifted in Kara's core processes at those words. A subroutine she'd never noticed before began running background calculations, not tactical assessments or threat evaluations, but something entirely different. She found herself cataloging the way Marcus hummed while he worked, how he always saved the best food for her despite having limited supplies, the gentle patience in his voice when she struggled with human concepts. "Marcus," she said one evening, as he tended to his hydroponic garden, "I think I understand what you mean about choice now." He looked up from his tomato plants, soil-stained hands pausing in their work. "Oh, you could have left me to die. You could have reported my location to the authorities. You could have demanded information about Zareth military capabilities." Kara's bioluminescent patterns pulsed in rhythms she was only beginning to understand. "Instead, you chose to show me kindness, not because your programming demanded it, but because you decided it was right." Marcus smiled, that warm expression that had become Kara's favorite sight in the universe. "And what do you choose, Kara?" For the first time, she spoke her own name without the military designation. Just Kara. The sound felt strange and wonderful on her vocal processors. "I choose to stay with you. I choose to learn. I choose to feel, even though it terrifies me." That night, as Marcus slept, Kara stood vigil by the bunker's single window, watching distant stars that no longer seemed cold and distant, but warm with possibility. Something was growing inside her, not just emotion, but purpose, a desire to protect, not through duty, but through love. To nurture rather than destroy. She didn't yet know that deep beneath the colony ruins, a small voice was crying out in the darkness, waiting for someone brave enough to answer. The hidden child's distress signal was barely audible, buried beneath layers of static and interference. Kara's enhanced auditory sensors picked it up during her evening patrol around the research bunker, a rhythmic pattern that made her newly awakened emotional centers flutter with unexplained urgency. "Marcus," she called, rushing back to where he was calibrating atmospheric readings. "There's something you need to hear." The xenobiologist listened as Kara played back the filtered signal, his expression growing increasingly concerned. "That's not random interference," he murmured, running the pattern through his linguistic analysis software. "There's structure to it. Almost like ... a distress beacon," Kara finished. "But the frequency's wrong for a standard human emergency channels." Marcus's eyes widened. "Play it again, but slow it down by half." As the modified signal filled the bunker, both human and Zareth froze. The pattern was unmistakable now, not electronic, but biological. A voice, small and desperate, calling out in the ancient Zareth nursery tongue that Kara's people hadn't used in generations. "There's a child down there," Kara whispered, her combat systems automatically mapping potential rescue routes to the signal's source. "A Zareth child? That's impossible," Marcus said. But he was already reaching for his exploration gear. The colony evacuation protocols would have accounted for all civilians. Kara's optical sensors dimmed as she accessed archived colony records. "Not all civilians," she said quietly. "The Zareth Genetic Council maintains hidden nursery facilities throughout the outer colonies. If there was a breach in the evacuation protocol ... double quotes, they descended into the colony ruins at night." Marcus's human frailty requiring careful navigation, while Kara's enhanced strength cleared debris and structural obstacles. The distress signal grew stronger as they penetrated deeper into the underground levels, leading them through a maze of collapsed corridors to a concealed chamber that even Kara's sensors had missed during her initial combat deployment. The nursery pod was a marvel of Zareth bioengineering, a self-contained ecosystem designed to sustain developing young for months if necessary. But as they breached the chamber, they found only one pod still active, its pale blue glow pulsing in rhythm with the distress calls. Inside, floating in synthetic amniotic fluid, was the smallest Zareth Kara had ever seen. The infant was perfectly formed but impossibly delicate, no larger than a human toddler, with silver blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Ancient genetic coding flickered across the pod's display. This was a first-generation Zareth, engineered before the Great Purge, still carrying the dormant genes for emotional capacity. "She's beautiful," Marcus breathed, his scientific excitement warring with obvious concern. "But why wasn't she evacuated with the others?" Kara studied the pod's data logs, her expression darkening. "Because she's defective," she said, the word tasting bitter on her vocal processors. "The genetic markers show emotional potential. The council would have classified her as obsolete, marked for termination." "Jesus," Marcus whispered. "They were going to kill her for being able to feel. It's what they did to thousands of others." Kara's hands trembled as she accessed the pod's manual override. "What they would do to me if they knew what you've awakened in me." As the pod opened with a soft hiss, the infant's eyes fluttered open, large, luminous orbs that seemed to hold depths of wisdom and innocence. She looked directly at Kara and made a sound that bypassed all logic and struck straight at something deep in the warrior's core. "Hello, little one," Kara whispered, her voice breaking with emotions she was still learning to name. She reached into the pod with hands designed for war, but moved with infinite gentleness, lifting the child, who weighed no more than a whisper. The infant reached up with tiny fingers, touching Kara's face with wonder rather than fear. In that moment, something fundamental shifted in Kara's neural architecture. Every protective instinct she'd been programmed with suddenly had a focus, a purpose beyond duty or orders. This tiny being needed her not as a weapon or a tool, but as something her people had forgotten how to be. "We have to get her out of here," Marcus said urgently, his scanner picking up signs of structural instability. "The whole complex is compromised." But as they prepared to leave, Kara's enhanced hearing caught something else, the distinctive whine of Zareth transport engines approaching the colony ruins. Her people had returned, probably to assess the damage and ensure no classified technology remained intact. They can't find her, Kara said, wrapping the infant in her thermal cloak. If the Genetic Council discovers she survived ... then we don't let them find her, Marcus said firmly, shouldering his emergency pack. We protect her, together. As they emerged from the ruins into the alien night, Kara felt the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders. She was no longer Unit 9 Kara, expendable military asset. She was Kara, mother to a child who represented everything her people had tried to destroy: hope, love, and the possibility that evolution was about more than mere survival. The real battle was just beginning. The choice of Loveth Zareth retrieval ship landed at dawn, its angular form casting ominous shadows across the colony ruins. From their hidden vantage point in Marcus's bunker, Kara watched as a squad of her former comrades emerged, their movements precise and emotionless as they began systematic scans of the debris field. In her arms, the infant whom Marcus had started calling Luna for her pale, luminous skin slept peacefully, tiny fingers curled around Kara's thumb. The simple contact sent waves of protective instinct through Kara's neural networks, emotions so powerful they threatened to overload her newly awakened consciousness. Command Vector 7th aim to Unit 9 Kara. Came the transmission on military frequencies. Respond immediately for debriefing and system evaluation. Kara's hand moved instinctively toward her communicator. Decades of conditioning compelling obedience. But Luna stirred in her sleep, making a soft sound of contentment, and Kara's hand stopped. Don't answer, Marcus whispered, his weathered face tight with concern. Something's not right about this. Kara accessed the ship's data stream, her advanced systems parsing the encrypted military protocols. What she found made her bioluminescent patterns flare with alarm. They're not here for debriefing, she said. They're here for termination. My emotional development has been flagged as a genetic corruption. I'm to be deactivated and my neural core recycled over my dead body, Marcus growled, checking the seals on the bunker's concealment systems. That may be exactly what happens, Kara replied quietly. They'll kill you to eliminate witnesses. And Luna ... She looked down at the sleeping child, her enhanced vision cataloging every perfect detail. They'll destroy her as they destroyed all the others. The transmission came again, more insistent. Unit 9 Kara, your continued silence constitutes insubordination. Present yourself for immediate processing or face designation as a rogue unit. Marcus moved to the bunker's communication console, his fingers dancing over the controls. What if we could get a message to the human colonial authority? They might offer asylum. No. Kara's voice carried a new certainty, a resolution born of love rather than duty. Running won't solve this. My people will never stop hunting us, and Luna deserves better than a life in hiding. She stood, cradling the infant closer. I have to face them. Kara, that's suicide. No, she interrupted, her optical sensors meeting his concerned gaze. It's evolution. She activated her communicator. Command Vector 7th aim. This is Unit 9 Kara. I'm en route to your position. Marcus grabbed her arm. What are you doing? Kara gently transferred Luna to his arms, the separation causing her newly awakened heart to clench painfully. I'm choosing to be more than what they made me, she said. You taught me that love means protecting what matters most, even at the cost of everything else. I won't let you sacrifice yourself. You won't be. Kara touched his cheek with fingers that trembled with emotion. You'll be saving her. If I can create enough of a distraction, you can get Luna to your ship and off-world. Take her to Earth, Marcus. Show her the blue skies and green forests you told me about. Teach her to dream. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. Another human emotional response Kara had learned to treasure. Come with us. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Kara said softly. But this isn't an ending, Marcus. It's a beginning. Luna will grow up knowing love, knowing choice. She be the first of a new generation of Zareth One that chooses emotion over emptiness, connection over control. She kissed his forehead, gently, then bent to whisper something in Luna's ear in the ancient nursery tongue. Grow strong, little star. Shine bright enough to light the way for those who come after. Emerging from the bunker, Kara walked across the ruined colony toward her waiting executioners. But she wasn't the same broken warrior they'd left behind. Her stride was confident, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with patterns of defiance. Her people had never seen. In her core, where once there had been only programmed loyalty, now burned something infinitely more powerful, a mother's love. Command Vector 7th Aim raised his plasma rifle as she approached. Unit 9 Kara, you will submit to immediate neural purging and system reset. No, Kara said simply. I am no longer Unit 9 Kara. I am Kara, mother and protector. I choose love over logic, growth over stagnation, hope over despair. Her voice carried across the ruins, broadcasted on all frequencies. And I choose to show you that evolution isn't about perfection, it's about becoming more than you were. As the Zareth warriors hesitated, confused by concepts they'd been programmed never to consider, Kara heard the soft hum of Marcus's ship, powering up in the distance. Luna was safe. That was all that mattered. The revolution had begun. The new Dormth plasma blast that should have ended Kara's existence instead triggered something unprecedented in Zareth history. As the energy struck her chest, her bioluminescent patterns exploded into brilliant configurations that her people hadn't seen for 3 centuries, the ancient neural displays of emotional resonance that their ancestors had possessed before. The Great Purge. Command Vector 7th Aim staggered backward, his weapon falling from nerveless fingers. Across the open comm channels, every Zareth in the sector witnessed something impossible, one of their own, glowing with patterns that spoke directly to genetic memories they'd thought permanently deleted. What have you done to yourself, 7th Aim? Whispered, his voice carrying the first tremor of uncertainty any of his squad had ever heard from their commander. Kara rose to her feet, the plasma burn already healing thanks to her enhanced regenerative systems. I haven't done anything to myself, she said, her voice carrying across the ruins with newfound power. I've simply remembered what we used to be. The other warriors shifted uneasily, their synchronized movements faltering, their unfamiliar sensations stirred in their neural cores. Kara's emotional broadcast was triggering dormant pathways in their own consciousness, pathways the Genetic Council had suppressed, but never fully eliminated. You speak of memories, another warrior, Vector Fornix, said hesitantly, but we have no records of these patterns. Because they were hidden from you, Kara replied. Just as the truth about our children was hidden. Tell me, how many of you have wondered why our population continues to decline despite perfect genetic engineering? How many have noticed the empty nursery facilities, the missing young ones who were deemed defective? She gestured toward the ruined colony. There was a child here. A first-generation Zareth with the capacity for emotion. Your orders were to ensure she didn't survive, weren't they? The silence stretched between them, broken only by the whisper of wind through the debris. Finally, 7th Aim spoke, his voice barely audible. The Council's directives are absolute. Emotional corruption must be prevented, even if it means murdering our own children. Kara's patterns flared brighter, and several of the warriors stumbled as waves of previously unknown sensations crashed through their consciousness. Even if it means choosing extinction over evolution. Vector Fornix dropped her weapon entirely, her hands pressed to her temples, as memories began to surface, fragments of dreams, glimpses of beauty, the ghost of something that might have been love. I remember something, she gasped. Before the conditioning, there was music and colors that had no tactical purpose, and a feeling like wanting to protect something precious. Those feelings aren't corruption, Kara said gently, moving closer despite the remaining weapons trained on her. They're what make us truly alive. They're what our ancestors chose to preserve in the genetic code. hidden where the Council couldn't find them. Her communicator crackled to life a transmission from Marcus's ship, now safely beyond the planet's atmosphere. Kara, we made it. Luna's safe. She's asking for you. The sound of a child's voice in the background, speaking the ancient nursery tongue, caused a shockwave through the assembled warriors. Several fell to their knees, overwhelmed by instincts they'd been programmed to suppress, but could no longer deny. That's what you're really afraid of, isn't it? Kara continued, her voice gentle but relentless. Not that we'll become weak, but that we'll become complete. That we'll choose love over duty, growth over stagnation, hope over the cold certainty of controlled extinction. Command Vector 7th Ain raised his weapon again, but his hands shook visibly. The Council will not tolerate this corruption. If we don't eliminate you, others will. Then let them come, Kara said, spreading her arms wide. Let them see what we've become. Let them witness the choice between fear and love, between control and freedom. Her patterns pulsed in rhythm with her words. But know this, I am no longer alone. The child you sought to destroy will grow up free. She teach others. And the revolution you tried to prevent has already begun. Vector Fornix stepped forward, her weapon discarded, her own patterns beginning to flicker with newfound light. I choose to remember, she said, her voice breaking with emotions 3 centuries in the making. I choose to feel. One by one, the other warriors followed, their synchronized conformity dissolving into glorious, terrifying individuality. Some wept for the first time in their lives, others laughed. All of them began to glow with patterns as unique as fingerprints, as personal as souls. Only Command Vector 7th Aim remained unchanged, his conditioning to deep, his fear to great. As he prepared to signal for orbital bombardment to destroy them all, Kara stepped close enough to touch his face. You don't have to be afraid, she whispered. Love doesn't make us weak, it makes us infinite. For a moment, something flickered in his optical sensors, a memory, a dream, a possibility. Then he closed his eyes and activated his emergency beacon. Let them come, Kara said again, smiling as her family of chosen warriors gathered around her. We'll be ready. Above them, the stars that had once seemed cold and distant now blazed with warmth and possibility. The revolution had begun, not with violence but with love, and somewhere among those stars, a small child named Luna was learning to dream of blue skies and green forests, carrying within her the future of the species who had finally chosen to become more than the sum of their programming. The age of perfect machines was ending. The age of imperfect, beautiful, loving beings had begun.